When someone you once trusted turns their back on you, the wound they leave behind is not merely emotional, it is spiritual. It shakes the foundations of how you see yourself and how you understand loyalty, love, and human nature. There is a strange silence that follows betrayal, a silence that feels heavier than any noise. You begin to question everything. The moments you shared, the promises whispered in the dark, the future you thought was certain. Yet in that painful quiet, something remarkable begins to form. A clarity, a revelation, a truth that had been hidden beneath affection and hope. The human heart is often too willing to excuse the flaws of those it loves. You defended them. You believed their words even when their actions trembled with contradiction. You gave them the benefit of the doubt long after they stopped deserving it. You thought loyalty could heal cruelty and kindness could transform selfishness. But betrayal has a way of showing you what you refuse to see. It is a mirror held to someone's soul, exposing what lies beneath the mask they wore so convincingly. There are people whose downfall is written the moment they choose deceit. They imagine themselves clever, victorious, untouchable, as they walk away from the one who cared the most. They think their lies will never return, that the damage they caused will never revisit their lives. But life is intricate. It listens. It remembers. It has a justice of its own, quiet, precise, unavoidable. And when someone betrays a heart that was pure, they set into motion consequences they cannot escape. Your ex, who once thought they could play with your trust like it was disposable, is not living the triumph they hoped for. The facade they present to the world is cracking. Behind their carefully curated smiles and boastful stories, there is unrest. The kind of unrest that grows when someone knows, deep down, that they destroyed something rare. They may not say it aloud, but the weight of their choices is beginning to take shape around them. People like that often walk straight into problems they created themselves. They stumble into relationships that reflect their own dysfunction. They are misunderstood by partners who mirror the same deception they once inflicted. They lose sleep over the emptiness they tried to fill with attention, validation, or reckless choices. They cannot outrun the echo of their own betrayal because it follows them into every new chapter. The truth is, someone who breaks a faithful heart experiences a break in their own spirit later, when they least expect it. You, however, are not part of that story anymore. You are being lifted out of the chaos they chose. The pain you endured is not your prison, it is your awakening. As their choices lead them into serious trouble, your life is quietly aligning with something better, something honest, purposeful, and resilient. The betrayal that once wounded you is becoming the very force that pushes you toward a future they were never worthy of standing in. When betrayal enters your life, it doesn't arrive politely. It does not knock on the door of your heart and wait to be invited in. It bursts through like a cold wind, stripping away the illusions you wrapped yourself in. You may not realize it in the beginning, but betrayal is not just an act. It is a revelation. It reveals the truth you had been unable or unwilling to face. You believed in someone because your heart was soft, loyal, and hopeful. You believed because you wanted the story to be good, the ending to be beautiful, and the person to be honest. Yet the moment they chose deception over loyalty, something far greater than their unfaithfulness occurred. Your eyes opened. There is a strange way love blinds us, not out of foolishness but because of the goodness within us. We see potential instead of patterns. We excuse pain because we value peace. We hold on because we are committed, not because they deserve our devotion. You convinced yourself that their inconsistencies were temporary, their lies were misunderstandings, their distance was stress, their coldness was fatigue. You created explanations that made their choices easier to accept because the alternative, the truth, would have been too painful to admit, and so you held their mask in place for them, gently, lovingly, even while it cut your hands. But betrayal has a peculiar power. It tears the mask off without asking your permission. One moment you are giving someone your trust, and the next you are staring at a stranger, wearing the face of someone you once loved. Their actions reveal who they have always been, beneath the charm, beneath the words, beneath the promises. You realize that the love you gave was real, but the love they offered in return was more fragile, more conditional, more self-serving than you wished to believe. Betrayal becomes the lens that finally shows you the full picture, sharp, unfiltered, undeniable. The truth is that you never truly knew what they were capable of until they chose to wound you. Words are easy, promises are easy, but character is revealed in moments of pressure, temptation, and opportunity. When someone betrays a pure heart, they expose a darkness within themselves that they could no longer keep hidden. Their action is not an accident, it is a confession. It says more about them than every sweet moment they shared with you. It exposes their inability to cherish loyalty, their hunger for validation, their weakness for attention, their fear of genuine intimacy, and their disregard for the heart that trusted them. You may wonder, how did I not see it? How did I miss the signs? Because your heart was sincere, because you loved deeply, because you hoped earnestly. The goodness in you projected goodness onto them. You assumed they were capable of the same depth of care that you lived by. But betrayal shatters the illusions built by hope. It forces the truth into the open like a light shining into a room you avoided entering. Suddenly, every red flag you dismissed becomes painfully clear. Every uneasy feeling you silenced now echoes loudly. Every moment of doubt you swallowed rises to the surface. And when the truth appears so boldly, it cannot be unseen. There is a sacred pain in that realization. It bruises the soul, not just the heart. It forces you to confront the fact that you gave your best to someone who was not prepared to value it. Yet within this pain lies a strange kind of protection. Once you see someone's truth, you can no longer be blinded by their falsehood. The veil is lifted. The charm loses its power. The excuses disintegrate. Betrayal does not just expose the truth about them, it exposes the truth about you. It shows you the depth of your loyalty, the strength of your capacity to love, the patience you carried, and the purity of your intentions. You learn that your fault was not loving them. Your fault was thinking they loved you back in the same way. Let that truth anchor you, not shatter you. The revelation that comes through betrayal is painful, but it is also liberating. It frees you from illusions that were quietly hurting you long before the betrayal took place. It frees you from the weight of their inconsistencies and the responsibility of trying to fix what you never broke. You discover that losing them was not a loss. It was the end of a lie, and the truth, however painful, is always kinder than the illusion that trapped you. In time, you will realize that betrayal was the moment the universe intervened to pull you away from a path that was never meant for you. The truth revealed itself, not to punish you, but to protect you. And though the truth may sting, it is the only thing strong enough to guide you toward the life and love that were designed for you from the beginning. When someone breaks a pure heart, the universe does not stay silent. There is a deep moral order woven into existence, subtle, invisible, patient, but unfailing. People may call it karma, consequence, divine justice, or simply the natural return of one's own actions. But the truth remains the same. No one harms a sincere soul without facing the weight of what they have done. Life has a rhythm, a balance that cannot be escaped. And when your ex chose betrayal, they set forces in motion that will eventually circle back to them, whether they expect it or not. There is a dangerous illusion that betrayers often fall into, the belief that actions grounded in deception disappear once committed. They think their lies dissolve once spoken, their disloyalty fades once hidden, their choices lose meaning once they walk away. They believe that by leaving you, they leave the consequences behind as well. But life is not a blank canvas they can rewrite at will. It is a mirror, and every action, especially one that harms another's spirit, returns with clarity. When someone wounds a heart that loved them honestly, they plant the seeds of their own future suffering, not because you wished it upon them, but because sincerity, loyalty, and purity are sacred qualities. Violating them has a cost. The universe does not exact revenge. It restores balance. It ensures that those who exploit goodness eventually encounter the reality of their own actions. At first, it may seem like they are thriving. They might appear happy, confident, even victorious. They may boast about their new life, their new relationships, their newfound freedom. But appearances are a fragile shelter. A person cannot outrun themselves, and beneath the surface, the consequences begin to weave their way into their life, quietly, subtly, like a shadow growing longer with every step they take. You must understand one thing clearly. When someone chooses to harm a heart that trusted them, they betray themselves far more deeply. They lose the chance to grow through honesty. They lose the chance to experience what real love feels like. They lose the chance to build a relationship grounded in truth, consistency, and emotional depth. They traded something priceless for something fleeting, and life will remind them of this in ways that shake their foundation. The consequences may not appear dramatically at first. Instead, they often begin as small disruptions. Relationships that don't last, partners who treat them the way they treated you, trust that is never fully given to them, restlessness that follows them from night to night. They start to feel uneasy in their own choices. They begin to question why nothing feels deeply fulfilling anymore. They may try to escape into distractions, into new romances, into temporary thrills, but the emptiness they created will quietly follow them. There comes a moment when the betrayer realizes that the stability they destroyed in others has now vanished in their own life. They will look for peace and fail to find it. They will seek loyalty in others only to encounter disappointment. They will crave the comfort you once gave them, but will be met with indifference or dishonesty. Life has a way of turning the heartbreaker into the heartbroken, not out of cruelty, but out of alignment. This is not punishment. It is reflection. It is the universe returning to them a taste of the experience they delivered to someone who did not deserve it. It is the spiritual correction that ensures a soul learns what it chose to ignore. As for you, the one who was hurt, you may feel tempted to watch their downfall, to wait for the moment their world collapses. But their consequences are not your story. They are simply the natural unfolding of a choice that was never yours. Your healing, growth, and peace are not tied to their suffering. Even if it brings a sense of closure to know that life does not let betrayal go unanswered, you must remember that good hearts are protected, not punished. You were not abandoned, you were redirected. The harm done to you becomes the dividing line between who you were and who you are becoming. And the consequences your ex faces are the dividing line between who they pretended to be and who they truly are. In the grand balance of life, actions echo. Those who betray kindness eventually feel the sting of the very pain they created, not because the universe seeks revenge, but because truth demands restoration. And the heart they wounded, your heart, will rise stronger long before they begin to understand the depth of what they lost. Behind every confident smile your ex shows to the world, behind every display of seeming strength or happiness, there is a quiet storm building inside them. People who betray often rely on the illusion that they can carry on as if nothing happened. They step into new relationships, new routines, new environments, trying to outrun the weight of their choices. But the human soul is not so easily deceived. It remembers, it keeps records, it whispers truths even when the mind tries to silence them. And sooner or later, that whisper becomes a heaviness they can no longer ignore. No matter how loudly they pretend to live, their inner world is not at peace. The weight of betrayal does not vanish simply because they walked away. It lingers, it grows. It shadows them in ways they don't show publicly. The restlessness they feel at night, the sudden moments of unease, the memories they try to bury. These are all signs of an internal conflict they can't escape. They may try to fill the void with people, distractions, or temporary pleasures, but emptiness cannot be painted over. It surfaces again and again, demanding to be acknowledged. There is something profoundly unsettling about harming someone who sincerely loved you. Even if they deny responsibility, even if they convince themselves they were justified, the truth burrows into their conscience. A part of them knows what they have done, even if they refuse to admit it. They know they broke something that was pure. They know they let down someone who trusted them. They know they acted against a heart that only wished them well, and that awareness becomes a quiet torment they cannot fully hide from. The world may see their curated happiness, the smiles in photos, the laughter with new people, the declarations of how free they now feel. But behind that performance is a reality they do not share. They worry about being exposed. They worry about being treated the way they treated you. They worry about the future because, deep down, they know a foundation built on deception cannot hold. And so they walk on unstable ground, even if they pretend otherwise. Their life becomes a series of silent battles. They question whether they made the right decision. They replay moments they claim not to care about. They recall your kindness at unexpected times. They feel pangs of regret in the quiet hours, those moments when the world stops demanding their attention and they are left alone with themselves. It is in these moments that the facade of strength crumbles, and they have no one to protect them from the truth of their own choices. Guilt does not always appear as remorse. Sometimes it emerges as anxiety, irritability, or constant dissatisfaction. They begin to feel uncomfortable in their own skin. They seek comfort from others but are unable to receive it fully. They chase validation but never feel satisfied. They move from person to person, experience to experience, trying to escape the echo of the heart they broke. But the echo follows them because it is carved into their conscience. The human heart cannot betray without also damaging itself. When they hurt you, a fracture formed within them, even if they did not realize it. That fracture widens with every reminder of what they lost. Your loyalty, your warmth, your devotion, your patience. You were a safe place for them, and losing that safe place haunts them in ways they cannot articulate. They see glimpses of what they once had in the eyes of new people, only to discover that none of these replacements carry the depth, the purity, or the intention you offered freely. So while they pretend the past is gone, it is very much alive within them. Every choice they make now is influenced by that hidden guilt. Every new relationship is burdened by the shadow of what they destroyed. Every attempt at joy is dimmed by the knowledge that they burned a bridge to someone who would have crossed oceans for them. And that knowledge becomes a quiet torment that grows slowly, steadily, until it becomes a heavy presence they carry everywhere. You may think they feel nothing, you may believe they walked away unscathed, but the truth is They are living with the consequences of their own actions in a way that may not be visible yet, but it is real, and it is growing. What they hide from the world is exactly what eats at them in private. And the inner turmoil they now face is not a punishment from you. It is the natural result of breaking something they never deserved in the first place. People who betray do not simply walk into a better life. They walk into a mirror. Every new relationship, every new connection, every new chapter reflects back to them the very flaws they refused to confront in themselves. This is the silent justice of life. It does not punish through thunder or fury. It punishes by allowing people to meet versions of themselves in the world around them. Your ex believed they could wound you, discard you, and slip seamlessly into something better. But life does not reward betrayal. Instead, it brings them face to face with the same traits they once used to hurt you. When someone betrays, they carry their broken patterns with them. They may change partners, change homes, change routines, but they do not change themselves. And whatever remains unhealed within them becomes the foundation of their next relationships. So they attract people who mirror the same inconsistency, the same emotional distance, the same self-centered behavior they once projected onto you. They meet partners who play the same games they played. They taste the same confusion they caused. They become victims of the same uncertainty they once created. It is not coincidence. It is alignment. Life is designed in such a way that we cannot escape the lessons we refuse to learn. And your ex is now stepping into a series of lessons wrapped inside relationships. They will begin to notice that the people they choose carry unsettling similarities to their own worst behaviors. They will recognize their own emotional chaos reflected in someone else's eyes. They will feel the same sting of betrayal they once dismissed when it hurt you. Every deception they committed becomes a mirror. Every lie becomes a lesson. Every wound they inflicted becomes a wound they receive in return. These mirrored relationships don't begin painfully. They often start with excitement, intensity, and the illusion of something fresh. At first, your ex may believe they upgraded, that they found someone who understands them better, or that the new chapter is their reward for walking away. But time exposes truth, and as the initial thrill fades, the cracks begin to show. Their new partner becomes distant. Their words become unreliable. Their promises become hollow. Your ex starts noticing small betrayals, mixed signals, and emotional inconsistency, the very things they once normalized in their own behavior. They begin to feel frustrated, confused, even anxious, because for the first time they are not the one in control. They taste the insecurity they once fed you. They question where they stand. They worry about being replaced. They try harder than they ever tried with you, and yet they still feel unseen. Life is not tormenting them, it is teaching them. It is showing them what you endured with a heart full of patience and loyalty. It is allowing them to understand the weight of their choices by placing them in the same position they put you in. Everything Chavez taught. Relationships built on broken foundations do not flourish. They crumble slowly, quietly, precisely because the person entering them carries unresolved wounds. Your ex never healed. They escaped. They never reflected. They ran. They never apologized. They justified. And now those unexamined shadows follow them into every room, every conversation, every connection. Their new partner senses the instability beneath their charm. People with genuine depth sense the shallowness of their emotional availability. Even casual relationships become complicated, filled with misunderstandings and tension. They begin to question why nothing feels stable, why every connection slips through their fingers. They may think they are choosing the wrong people, not realizing they are meeting themselves in different forms. Life does not let anyone treat others with cruelty and walk away with ease. The same patterns they used to hurt you now rise against them. The same emotional neglect they practiced is now practiced on them. They feel the sting of indifference. They feel the confusion of mixed intentions. They feel the ache of being undervalued. And in those moments, quiet, painful, humbling, they begin to understand what they did. This realization does not arrive boldly. It creeps in. It shows itself in small disappointments, repeated cycles, and emotional exhaustion. They start comparing what they have now with what they once had. They remember your loyalty in moments of doubt. They remember your patience when others are impatient with them. They remember your kindness when the world around them grows cold. And that memory becomes a burden because they now see clearly that they walked away not from a person who was flawed, but from a person who was genuine. While they stumble into these mirrored relationships, you are rising beyond the chaos they chose. You are stepping into clarity, growth, and emotional freedom. Their life is reflecting their patterns. Your life is reflecting your healing. And that is the ultimate justice. Life gives each person exactly what they built. When someone builds their life on deception, they unknowingly build it on sand. It may look steady for a moment, even impressive from a distance, but with time, the structure begins to sink beneath its own weight. Your ex imagined that walking away from you, betraying your trust, and stepping into a new chapter would grant them freedom. They thought the choices they made would lead to ease, happiness, or validation. But dishonesty cannot create stability. It can only create temporary illusions, illusions that eventually collapse. The unraveling doesn't begin with dramatic events. It begins quietly. Small setbacks, minor frustrations, relationships that feel shallow, plans that fall apart, people who promise things and never deliver. They start noticing that nothing around them stays consistent for long. Every new connection comes with new complications. Every effort they make lacks fulfillment. Every bright start ends dimly. This is not bad luck. It is the natural consequence of trying to build a future on the ruins of their own integrity. Their inner world mirrors this instability. They feel scattered, unfocused, and uneasy, though they may not admit it. Their mind jumps from desire to desire, unable to rest. Their emotions fluctuate without reason. They struggle to feel secure in any environment because the foundation inside them is cracked. You cannot betray someone deeply and remain whole yourself. The fracture they created in you becomes a fracture within them, and it follows them wherever they go. They begin to notice that their relationships lack depth. People around them don't trust them fully, even if they pretend otherwise. Their words no longer carry weight because they themselves know how easily they once broke promises. They attempt to build intimacy but encounter emotional walls. Walls they unknowingly erected through their own actions. They experience difficulty maintaining connections because their heart is no longer capable of offering genuine stability. They didn't value the loyalty they had, and now loyalty slips away from them naturally. Life has a quiet way of reflecting back what we give to others. If someone offers inconsistency, they receive inconsistency. If they cause chaos, they attract chaos. If they betray trust, trust avoids them. Your ex may try to convince themselves that their new life is better, but beneath the surface they know something feels off. Something feels unstable, unrooted, untrue. They may search for peace, but peace does not exist in a life built on excuses and avoidance. Their material world begins to show cracks too. They may struggle with commitments, jobs, responsibilities, finances. They may experience unexpected difficulties in areas they once managed well. Even their health or energy may fluctuate, because emotional turmoil has a way of draining the body as well as the spirit. They feel tired, not just physically, but emotionally exhausted from carrying the weight of choices they once made lightly. And the most painful part for them is this: nothing feels satisfying anymore. The thrill they chased fades quickly. The validation they sought becomes hollow. The people they surrounded themselves with do not offer the comfort they expected. They keep searching for a feeling of stability, something that grounds them, something that gives them meaning. But everywhere they turn, they encounter more uncertainty. This is where the unraveling becomes undeniable. When someone betrays a pure heart, they lose the internal compass that keeps a person whole. That compass, integrity, gratitude, loyalty, humility, gets compromised. And without it, life becomes a series of empty pursuits. They try to fill the void with sensory pleasures, but the void deepens. They try to distract themselves with new people, but loneliness persists. They try to convince others and themselves that they are happy, but their spirit contradicts their story. There will come a day when the truth catches up with them more clearly than ever. They will look at their life and feel the weight of instability pressing down on them. They will realize they traded stability for chaos, sincerity for superficiality, truth for temporary comfort. In that moment, they will understand that the betrayal they thought was a small choice was in fact the beginning of their own unraveling. Meanwhile, your life is strengthening in the very places theirs is weakening. Where they experience instability, you experience clarity. Where they face confusion, you find direction. Where they crumble, you rise. Recognize that their unraveling is not your burden. It is the result of the life they chose to build, and the life you are now stepping into carries the stability they never had the courage to create. There comes a moment after deep betrayal when the wounded heart discovers something extraordinary. The pain that nearly broke you becomes the very force that awakens you. While your ex moves through life carrying the invisible weight of their own choices, you begin to rise with a clarity they never expected. The suffering they caused you, those sleepless nights, those unanswered questions, those moments where you doubted your own worth, starts transforming into strength. It becomes a turning point, a threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. Pain has a strange intelligence. It feels destructive at first, as though it's tearing your identity apart. But in truth, it is sculpting you. It is refining you. It is stripping away illusions, naivety, and unhealthy attachments. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself that were willing to tolerate too little, forgive too much, and hold on too tightly to someone who did not hold you at all. The pain they gave you is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the fire that burns away the version of you that accepted crumbs and leaves behind the version that demands better. Your ex may believe they broke you, but what they actually did was break the cage you were in. They shattered the comfort zone you kept calling love. Their betrayal forced you to face truths you would have never confronted voluntarily. And in doing so, it pushed you onto a path of self-respect, self-awareness, and emotional growth. That is the irony of betrayal. The person who harms you believes they have weakened you, when in reality they become the catalyst for your transformation. The more distance you gain from them, the more you begin to see yourself differently. You discover strength you didn't know you possessed. You start noticing how deeply you are capable of loving, how loyal you were even when it was not reciprocated, how resilient your heart is even after being shattered. The very qualities they took for granted become the pillars of your rebuilding. You learn to trust yourself again, not because someone validates you, but because you survived what should have destroyed you. Slowly you begin to appreciate the wisdom hidden in the pain. You understand that not everyone you love is meant to stay. Not every connection is destiny. Not every promise reflects intention. You begin to see how their departure saved you from years of slow suffering, from a relationship that would have drained the life out of you. You realize that losing them was not a failure. It was a release, a divine intervention disguised as heartbreak. And something else begins to shift. You stop longing for what was lost. You stop replaying the moments they hurt you. You stop blaming yourself for trusting them. Instead, you begin to feel grateful. Grateful that you were removed from someone whose character could never match your heart. Grateful that you were redirected toward a future where your love will not be wasted. Grateful that life, in all its harshness, chose to protect you through pain. Meanwhile, the consequences of their betrayal begin to unfold in ways they cannot ignore. The emptiness they tried to fill with distractions only grows. The guilt they tried to silence becomes louder. The relationships they enter lack the depth they once had with you. Their new partners do not see them with the tenderness you saw. They begin to crave the sense of safety they once had but did not appreciate. They begin to miss the version of you that stood by them even when they were undeserving. But here is the truth. Your journey has already moved beyond them. You are no longer looking back at what was taken from you. You are looking forward to what is being prepared for you. The pain that once felt unbearable is now your armor. The heartbreak that once blinded you is now your clarity. The betrayal that once shattered you is now your liberation. Every tear you shed watered the soil of the person you are becoming. Every lesson carved into your heart is shaping your future. Every wound they inflicted is healing into wisdom. You are no longer defined by the hurt. They are defined by their actions. But you are defined by your rising. And the most powerful part of this transformation is that you are not rising with bitterness, but with understanding. You are not rising to prove something to them, but to yourself. You are not rising for revenge, but for rebirth. Your pain became the turning point, the moment the universe whispered, "This is not where your story ends." And now you stand on stronger ground than before, not because they damaged you, but because you refused to let the damage destroy you. Their betrayal began your awakening. Your healing begins your becoming. There is a quiet but undeniable truth about betrayal that becomes clearer with time. The moment they walked away from you was the moment life began walking you toward something greater. You may not have seen it then. Your heart was bruised, your trust shaken, your mind filled with questions that seemed to have no answers. But now, with distance and healing, you can sense what you couldn't before. Your path was never meant to be tied to someone who lacked the character to cherish you. Their departure did not close your future, it opened it. Think of all the ways you tried to hold that relationship together. How you forgave beyond reason. How you stayed even when your heart felt unsettled. How you loved with the hope that they would eventually meet you at the level of maturity and sincerity you offered freely. You were carrying something they didn't have the strength to hold. You were offering a depth they could not sustain. Your soul was operating on a higher plane than their intentions. Because the mismatch was so great, life stepped in to separate you from what was never aligned with your destiny. It is painful to accept, but necessary to understand. Some people are removed from your life not because you did something wrong, but because they were too small for the future prepared for you. They lacked the emotional depth to walk with you. They lacked the loyalty required to build with you. They lacked the integrity needed to grow alongside you. If they had remained in your life, they would have weakened the very foundation you are now strengthening. You're not suggesting your ex was never meant to be part of the chapters you're stepping into. Their betrayal was the closing of a door that needed to be sealed long before you would have had the courage to shut it yourself. Without that ending, you would have stayed attached to someone who slowed your growth. Without the heartbreak, you would have kept giving pieces of yourself to someone incapable of honoring them. The greatest impact of all emotions is to know that all emotions are impossible without the uncertainty that they are not ultimate. Without the rupture, you would have missed the opportunity to evolve into the person you are becoming now. Life didn't take them away from you, it freed you from them. And while their path is becoming tangled with the consequences of their own choices, yours is becoming clearer. The fog that once clouded your judgment is lifting. The doubts you once carried are dissolving. The heaviness that clung to your spirit is loosening its grip. You are stepping into a new understanding of self-worth, a new strength that comes from survival, a new confidence that rises from the ashes of everything you endured. You no longer chase validation from someone incapable of recognizing your value. You no longer wait for apologies that will never come. You no longer try to make sense of their choices because their choices no longer shape your life. The pain they caused pushed you into a journey of healing, growth, and awakening that you would have never chosen on your own. And now you see clearly, you deserved far more than what you were settling for. The irony is that while you rise, they are beginning to sink under the weight of their own actions. They may look stable from the outside, but inside they know something is missing, something they carelessly threw away. They feel the absence of your presence in moments they cannot admit aloud. They feel the lack of loyalty in the people they now meet. They feel the difference between the shallow connections they chose and the depth they abandoned. They are walking through a life that no longer carries the comfort your love once gave them. But this is no longer your concern. Their trouble is not your burden. Their regret is not your responsibility. Their downfall is not your story. The universe is handling them the same way it is lifting you. Your journey now is about stepping into the life they were never meant to be part of. A life where your heart is valued, your loyalty is reciprocated, and your love is met with equal depth. A life shaped not by betrayal, but by purpose. A life where the pain that once held you down becomes the strength that carries you forward. You did not lose them, they lost you. You are moving into a future that was designed for someone with your heart, your integrity, your spirit, and they were never meant to stand in that future with you. In the quiet aftermath of everything you endured, you finally see the truth that was hidden beneath the pain. Their betrayal did not end your story. It clarified it. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit beside someone who could not honor your heart. You were never meant to carry the weight of a love that only you were willing to nurture. And you were never meant to stay bound to a soul that mistook your loyalty for weakness. Now you stand on the other side of heartbreak, not shattered but sharpened, not defeated but defined. Your pain has become your wisdom, your wounds have become your strength. And every step you take from this moment forward is guided by a deeper understanding of your worth. As their choices catch up to them, as their facade begins to crumble, you are rising into a life they were never meant to witness. You are walking toward the future that their betrayal unintentionally prepared you for. A future built on truth, on dignity, on inner peace. A future where your heart will no longer be taken for granted. Let this be the chapter where you release what hurt you. Reclaim what was always yours, and step boldly into the destiny that waited for you all along. Their story ends where your healing begins. And your healing is leading you into a life far greater than the one they ever could have given you.